All right, what is up, Bears fans? And as always, welcome back to the Bear Review. So it's officially do or die time for some players on the roster. And for these four guys in particular, Friday night is going to be the last time you see them in the Navy and Orange. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you who these guys are and why their time in Chicago is about to run out. So let's break it all down. So let's start with the obvious, and that's Case Keenum. Look, guys, at this point, the writing's on the wall here. Once the Bears extended Tyson Bagent, Keenum's days were all but numbered. But to his credit, he actually looked solid in his lone preseason outing. He went 8 for 10 with 2 touchdowns, showing poise and experience, and honestly made a real nice push for the backup spot. But the Bears clearly see Bagent as the future, and when you've got Caleb Williams locked in as QB1, there's just no room to carry an older vet when a younger backup is flashing. As you know, the Bears signed Keenum to a 1-year, $3 million deal to act as a mentor for Caleb and maybe compete for snaps going into the preseason. Even I myself give him a pretty high chance of making this roster at QB2 to start the year. But let's be real. At this point, Chicago made their choice. They want development, not insurance. All right, so let's talk about Tyler Scott. And honestly, this one feels done and dusted at this point. If you don't know, Scott was drafted in 2023 to be a deep threat wide receiver, but it never materialized. His rookie year was just 17 catches on 54% efficiency, no touchdowns, and a few very ugly drops. In 2024, he basically vanished off the face of the planet with one target all year. Even in this preseason, despite a small bounce back in the second game with 54 yards and a score, it's honestly just too little, too late. The botched kickoff didn't help as well. The Bears receiver room is now loaded with the likes of DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Luther Burden III, and Oz, just to name a few. And those guys are not going anywhere. Scott honestly hasn't been reliable on offense, and his struggle on special teams doesn't help. Best case scenario, he's fighting for a practice squad spot later tonight. Worst case scenario, he's already done in Chicago. Now flipping over to the defense, I'll talk about Jonathan Ford. Some of you may not remember that the Bears picked him up off the Green Bay Packers practice squad, hoping he'd bolster their run defense with the injury to Andrew Billings. And early on, there was some optimism. But here's the reality. 75 preseason snaps in, and we have 0 tackles, 0 pressures, and 0 run stops. When you're already a bubble guy, you can't be putting up donuts in the box score. His PFF run defense grade so far this preseason is a brutal 44.5, worst on the D line. And now with Andrew Billings back and healthy, and also dominating, mind you, the Bears just don't have time for passengers on this train. It doesn't really help Ford's case. He ranked 196th out of 220 interior defenders last year. That's replacement level at best. And with Chicago desperately trying to improve its interior pass rush and run defense, Ford simply is not it. He's probably the easiest cut candidate on this list. Plain and simple. The last guy on this list is kind of interesting. If you jump back to last year, he's probably making the team. This year, not so much. And that's Joshua Miles. Now on paper, Miles looks like a dream of an offensive tackle. 6'5", 314 pounds, and 35-inch arms. That's prototypical size for a tackle in the NFL. But when the pads come on, it's a different story. And if I'm going to be honest with you guys, that story started with a lot of promise. Against Miami, he looked solid, 0 pressures allowed, and even earned a strong 82.9 pass blocking grade. But then came Buffalo. He gave up 3 pressures and graded out with an embarrassing 10.9 pass blocking grade on the night. And when you swing that wildly from one week to the next, coaches just can't trust you. And the real kicker is the Bears' O-line depth is actually kind of stacked. You have Braxton Jones, Theo Benedict, and Karam Amagaji already at tackle, plus rookie Ozzie Trapillo. Let's also not forget the big trades for Joe Thuney and Jonah Jackson and the signing of Drew Dahlman. So the interior is pretty much locked up too. There's just no room for a project guy like Miles. The only guy on this list you might put him over is Theo Benedict. If I had to pick between him and Theo, I'm riding with the Canadian Eagle. So there are many more guys that are going to get cut on Tuesday. However, these 4, Chase Keenum, Tyler Scott, Jonathan Ford, and Joshua Miles, are my picks for guys that have already punched their ticket and are on their way out of Chicago. Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson made a very telling comment earlier in the offseason, saying it's going to be extremely hard to make this club, and these 4 guys here are in rooms that are just too deep to have stragglers of their caliber. It's nothing personal, it's just business. But now I want to know what you guys think. Am I spot on with this list, or is there another name you think should be packing their bags already? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I love hearing your guys' takes. So very quickly, I do want to apologize for the length of time between videos. If you don't know, my wife is actually 38 weeks pregnant as of today, and it's a bit of baby fever in the household. And with 11 days left before she makes her grand entrance, be aware there might be a little bit of a delay between videos. So I do apologize for that. But hey, if you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe to the Bear Review for more Bears content as we go beyond the highlights this season with the Chicago Bears. After final cutdown day on Tuesday, I will be starting to look at the final 53-man roster going into the season, including a few surprise players who could make their way on. So until then, bear down.